All right, well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and you are here to witness the 2020 Mazda CX-9. So, if you could please, ladies and gents, like, share this video perhaps, it would go a long way in getting more vehicles like this to review. I was actually supposed to get the LS 500 actually this week to review, but that's nor here nor there. Slight change in plans, I guess. So no matter. The 2020 CX-9, I guess we should first of all start off with the looks, right? Prestigious, of course. It's got a phenomenal look. The kudos, or whatever they call it, their design language. Whatever it is, it's phenomenal. Sleek, just like it is with every new Mazda. Has a great, expensive look to it, which it's kind of what they want. That premium feel look is what Mazda wants. And I think what I really like about Mazda is that every year, this vehicle is pretty much the same as like the 2016 look-wise, I guess, but every single year they make little tweaks to pretty much all their cars. And I actually drove the 2019 Mazda CX-9, and what they actually changed for the 2019 model year was they actually retuned the suspension to make it ride a little bit better, to make it a little bit smoother. So that's a huge advantage there. And for 2020, I'm actually proud to say that they actually did some nice little tweaks to the base model. Actually, they actually provided all of the safety features as standard in the base trim model, and even with the cloth seats, they still give you heated seating actually with the cloth base trim. So that is pretty awesome to see as well. But this is not the base trim model. This is actually the Signature fully loaded one. Nice, very good, very good. Got some legitimately good pep in the step, that's for sure. Speaking of the pep in this vehicle, that's another thing that got revised for 2020. So all the Mazda CX-9s have the same exact engine. It's that 2.5 liter turbo, produces 250 horsepower, but now it produces 320 pounds-feet of torque. So an extra 10 pounds-feet of torque on premium fuel. That's the extra little tweak that I got. If you use the regular fuel, which I don't suggest you doing, you'll get about 227 horsepower and 310 pounds-feet of torque. The reason why I don't suggest the regular fuel is not because of the power deficiency, but more so of the longevity of this vehicle. It is a turbocharged motor. These things like premium fuel, so something to note there. But I don't know if it is that 10 pounds-feet of torque or what, but somehow the way they tweaked it, I actually really like it because there's a little bit less lag with this car. It's not a mind-blowing performance by any stretch of the imagination, but it just feels strong. It feels good. It feels relatively effortless. You do kind of have to wring it out a little bit, which I enjoy. But I had to stay on the highway. Same thing, very rewarding. I think what makes this car really amazing is actually the way it's so isolated from pretty much the environment. It is so quiet. It is so just comfortable in here. But I'll get to that in a bit. Yeah, the power, it doesn't really translate much into the cabin. Doesn't really, throw you back in the seat. But I feel like for a car of this class and category, I feel like that's a good thing. You never really bother the occupants in this vehicle. The vehicle has an amazing chassis, despite its 4,400 pound curb weight, or about 4,200 pounds if you get the front wheel drive base model. It has an agility and just a feel to it that a vehicle of this size really should not have, honestly. That's a remarkable thing that only Mazda really pulls off. It has that, Audi-like feel to it, like that heft to it that an Audi typically has, but it feels Japanese at the same time. It feels light on its feet, which is awesome. But the thing is, it's not light. It's 4,400 pounds, and with this turbocharged four-cylinder engine, I guess the biggest complaint is the fuel economy is not going to be stellar. You're going to be looking at about 16 to 17 mpg if you're going to be flooring it around. That's kind of the biggest drawback of these turbo engines. You do get the torque up front. You have to drive it like a very civilized person to get into the 20 mpg range, which I do think is possible with this car, but again, you have to drive like the way your mother intends you to drive to get that fuel economy. But yeah, back to the drive. I was saying that this thing weighs 4,400 pounds, but it feels amazing. You can just chuck it around. I had it on the highway, the roundabouts and stuff like that, and I was really just throwing it in there at some legitimate speeds and handled it really well. Something to be expected from Mazda. It's just, they're always the best kind of handling and driving in the category, in the segment anyway. The steering feels super natural, well weighted. You do have a little faux sport mode here, which just kicks you down a gear. I didn't really notice the steering getting too heavy at all. It always feels great and natural at all times. It's easy to place on the road. It's not It's a large vehicle, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's like a damn near 200 inches long, which is, you know, a big body category, and you know, I'm the big body king, so I had a whole elbow sticking out the windowsill, maybe even a whole foot out on these civilians. You know, I might even have to do that. So it's got that big body swagger to it, and that also aids in its comfort. But despite that size, it's easy to kind of place on the road. You know, it's easy to bust a U-turn in this thing, just easy to drive in general. At least that's what I felt. You know, it's got nice little features like a 360 camera, which I kind of got for 2020. Kind of see all around the vehicle, nice little backup camera as well, with the guidance lines and stuff like that. And I'll talk more about that infotainment stuff in later on in the review, but those are some of the advantages that this vehicle has to kind of aid it and make it feel easier to drive. Nice bezel-less mirror so you can see out the entire kind of rear window, so that's great. But yeah, dude, I mean, they made some phenomenal changes to just make it, it does have a premium feel. Like, it does have this feeling like it's a cut above the rest type of, you know, feeling, you know, that all-wheel drive system keeping things in check. You know, that should have been a nice little oversteer there, but it wasn't. And if you keep your foot down long enough, I mean, you will definitely reach some speeds that should not be mentioned on video. Even though it's not a rocket ship, even when I had it on the highway and I put my foot down, it definitely kicked down a couple gears and it went. And that's partly because it has a nice 6-speed automatic transmission. No 8-speed, no 10-speed, the right amount of gears. So it's not like jumping down a whole bunch of gears. You know what I'm saying? It only has 6 gears, so downshifting is pretty immediate in this thing, so that's great. But yeah, more importantly, the stuff that matters in this class, you know, this double pane glass, you know, there's literally like no wind noise that really protrudes through, even out on the highway. They even went as far as changing out their OEM tires. You know, a lot of Mazdas use like this Falcon tire. That's supposed to be a much quieter tire. Kind of does lack the grip a little bit, but again, it's an all-wheel drive car, so it doesn't really matter too much. 255 wide on these 20-inch dubs. Even with these dubs on it, it rides really well, actually. A viewer complained that he reluctantly bought a CX-9 because it was a cheaper lease option. And, you know, he had a baby in the back, and he's always like watch his baby kind of, you know, flop around back there, which I kind of find ridiculous because, you know, as a passenger, I found this to be a very comfortable experience. I had no real issues. My family loves this. My parents, they love this car. So ride quality, I never really found it to be an issue. And the base model that I drove with the 18-inch wheels rides even better than this. So, you know, I feel like it has a nice plush ride, and with the drivability that this thing has, I feel like, you know, it's kind of pulled off this jack of all trades thing pretty well, if you ask me. So yeah, that lack of tire noise, that lack of wind noise, that all kind of helps you kind of isolate yourself from the speed. You know, I really do genuinely feel like it kind of gets away from you. You know, you can be doing like 60 miles an hour in a 45, and you can, you know, not really notice it. You know, kind of have to get on the brakes. Brakes, they do stop really well, really smooth as well. It does something similar to like the Genesis G80 actually, where it has good braking performance. However, the braking feel and the acceleration feel doesn't really translate into the cabin. It just makes it such a relaxing, surreal experience, not just for you, the driver, but for the passengers as well. So that's great. So driving, comfort, isolation, all these things are on a high level for this category. Now let's get into the interior a little bit here. So I was kind of mentioning that Audi kind of solidity that this thing has. It translates into the cabin, dude. Like, this thing is rock solid. Everything in here has a nice sturdy feel. You know, when you shut the door, it has that bank vault feel to it that I really enjoy. You know, this aluminum trim pieces, this little block of wood that they have here for the window switches. You know, all those windows are one touch up and down, all 4, which is great. But yeah, dude, I just love the sturdiness of it. You know, nothing's creaking and rattling. Granted, this is a brand spanking new car, only has like 500 miles, you know, about 600 miles now. So it is legitimately brand new, but I don't feel like this would be creaking and rattling anytime soon, dude. This is a nice, solid space to be in. Being the signature model, it's actually got a lot of gizmos and gadgets, you know, not a lot, but it's got a little something going on here. You know, all the safety features, of course. Climate control is nice and kind of separated from the screen here. A lot of people were saying that, you know, for 2020 it got a revised screen, but it's actually the old school screen that Mazda always came with, the older gen infotainment system. The Mazda CX-30 and the Mazda 3, those use the newer infotainment screens. Kind of has like that BMW iDrive look to it, nice crisp screen that they use in that. This is that older screen, but I do still like it. It's very easy to use, and it does something similar to what Hyundai Kia does. It makes all this technology digestible. I don't feel overwhelmed like I would in a German car with all this technology. It's easy to use, easy to navigate. It was easy for me to pair up my phone to this thing. So those were all great things there. You do have this classic gauge cluster here that's, you know, digital in the middle, and also shows you some, you know, your helper screen is also right there as well. You know, these seats, these are these nice plush Napa leather seats, super comfortable. Being the Signature model, nice little stitching all around, nice little piping on the seats here, white piping on this kind of brown interior. Really nice contrast, really nice look. Really love it. It has that expensive feel that you would typically have to pay a lot of money for, but you get that here with this Mazda. Lots of little cubby spaces, you know, door pockets here are nice size. You can definitely fit water bottles in there. Nice 2 cup holders, a place to put your phone. The glove box is a decent size. Even the center armrest thing, not huge, but like definitely very good. And of course, you can charge up your phone quite quickly if you connect it with the cable in here. And this is actually a 3-row SUV, and it's a legitimate one too. I actually fit behind myself in all 3 spaces, all 3 rows. If I have my seat setting set to like a 5'11" person, like I am, you know, a fully grown adult, I can fit myself in the captain's seat and in the 3rd row. So that is awesome. I love that. I really appreciate that. It's a nice, usable vehicle. And, you know, for this model, for the Signature trim model, the rear seats does get that little center console thing there, so it's like a legitimate captain setup, very baller. Lots of adjustability there with that seat. Actually, you can kind of move it like forward and backwards, so that's nice. You can kind of recline it back and do all kinds of little stuff to make it really comfortable back there. For me to sit effortlessly in the 3rd row seat, I have to kind of put the seat up forward, the captain's seat, to the point where like the legroom would be more similar to that of a Mazda CX-30 or like a CX-5 or something like that, which is still not bad. And in that 3rd row, you know, I'm pretty much the max I can fit back there. Like a 6-foot individual is about the max that you can fit in the 3rd row, which is still very respectable, mind you. Otherwise, you know, the headroom and the legroom will become an issue. But what's not an issue is if you have the captain's chair set all the way back, dude, you have like big body levels of rear legroom back there. I'm literally just crossing my legs back there and everything. Very legitimate setup. You have a little peasant blocker that's manually adjusted, like a manual sunshade basically. That's awesome. If you have like a baby or something back there, you know, the sun won't get in the baby's eyes or whatever. It is a family vehicle at the end of the day. So that's a nice feature. Nice little climate control, heated seats in the back. That's great. Talking about that trunk a little bit, there's like literally a dozen ways to open that trunk, like lift gate thing. You can kind of kick underneath the vehicle and it'll open up that way. You can use the key fob, which a key fob is actually, they have a new key now for Mazda. I actually don't really like it. It feels cheaper than the one that they replaced. It's like kind of plasticky feeling. Not a huge deal, but just thought I'd mention it. The old key was plastic, but it had a more like solid feel to it, which I liked. It was a little bit smaller too. But yeah, you can open and close it with the key fob. You can you know, just run up to it. You can press a little button inside the cabin, so that's nice. And if you have the 3rd row set down, you have a ton of space back there. Like, you know, people complain that, you know, Mazdas don't have enough space or whatever. Well, this one has plenty of space, especially with the 3rd row down. You can like lift up the thing. It's got a little bit of space underneath the trunk, and if you lift that up, you have a spare tire back there, which is awesome. So nice practical things there. The only thing I don't like about that tailgate is that if you have the thing lifted up, I'm 5'11", and I do find myself kind of bumping my head on the tailgate when it's all the way up. So it's not really an issue I had with the CX-5, but I do have that little bit of an issue here, so I'm kind of ducking around it. Again, not a huge issue, but just thought I'd mention it. Another little interior thing I guess I can mention is the Bose 12-speaker audio system, which sounds pretty good actually. Not amazing, not super stellar, but does sound very good. Nice bass and all that good stuff. It's a clear sound system, so I appreciate that. But dude, again, concluding this video, I mean, I don't have a lot of complaints with this car, man. It's just the somewhat abysmal fuel economy, which is kind of typical for this segment. 16, 17 mpg for pounding it. Lower 20s if you're driving civilized. That's kind of what I see there. Again, kind of typical for this category. But dude, I feel like this is going to be a very rewarding driving experience. It's something that you can buy and your family's going to love it for like 3+ years minimum for sure. It's just a very rewarding car to drive around, man. And you know, it's great if you make a lot of money, right? But you don't want anybody to know it. And you want all the little gadgets and gizmos and like the luxury car feel and all that stuff. This Mazda CX-9 is pretty much that, dude. Like that ride quality, the isolation that this thing provides. It's all almost like Audi-like. It's like a luxury car with that douche factor to it, so I love that. You can buy this, your neighbors won't hate you, but it still has like this prestigious look to it, so it's still got this command and presence to it that I appreciate. But it's an awesome car, man. If you're in this market, definitely check it out. It's definitely one of the better driving ones. The stability of it, your family's going to be safe in it. It's a great vehicle, man. Definitely check it out. Oh, yeah, auto wipers, I guess. You get that as standard as well in the base model. It's a little thing I forgot to mention. Auto headlights, too. Yeah, man, lots of little features in this thing. If you appreciate this review, definitely let me know. If you're an owner of this thing, if you've checked it out in the past, let me know your thoughts below. Definitely help out some people in the comment section. But with that, I think I've pretty much covered everything with this interior segment. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and goodbye.